Hey everyone, so today we're diving into the technique world of hammer-ons and pull-offs, okay? We're going to do everything in the same video and show some different exercises, and it's a great technique to start strengthening your fingers, okay? Now when you start building more finger strength, it's going to help you with more complex chords all over the neck, okay? It's going to help you play complex chords for longer periods of time. They also, of course, help you have that great smoother flowing legato style of playing when you do start mixing hammer-ons and pull-offs with slides. So we're going to dive straight into it now. Enough of my yammering, and I'll give you a nice close-up view. Let's get into it, hammer-ons and pull-offs. So let's dive into the world of hammer-ons, okay? So hammer-ons, just think of it, a hammer, something that is striking down, okay? So here we've got an example of two normal notes, and then I'll show you an example of a hammer-on. So here's the two normal notes. And the hammer-on. Okay? So what the hammer-on is in the first example, I played the string, and then I played the third fret. But in the hammer-on, I only played once. And then I hammered on with this finger. So that's where the term comes from, okay? You're striking the string once, and then you're hammering on with your other finger, but you're not actually picking that hammer on, okay? You're just using the sort of momentum or a little bit of strength or force to bring down on the string to make that sound. See, I'm not playing with that string at all. It's just hammering on. Now that's not to say you can only do it with open strings, okay? You can do it with, if you're fretting as well. So let's have our first finger on the third fret of the first string. Gonna play that string with our pick, and now we're gonna hammer on with our third finger on the fifth fret. Okay? So the hammer on was coming on from our third finger, okay? But you could of course do it with your second finger, third finger, or pinky. Okay, so that's all that it is, okay? So how I would practice this is I would have a look at some scales that you already know, let's say like the A minor pentatonic scale, okay? And if you don't know that, check out this video here. Or let's say the C major 2-octave pattern as well. Check out this video for that scale. So let's say you already know those scales. So a great musical method in which I would use personally to practice this musical technique is to think of it that way, to think of it as musical study and a musical technique, not just doing technique for the sake of being technique, but practicing your scales and musicality as well. So let's go through and practice this technique by using a scale shape, okay, to practice our technique. And that's the best way I reckon to do, to involve the two together so you're not just practicing technique. So let's get started. First finger, fifth fret on the sixth string, that's our A note. Then hammer on with your pinky on the eighth fret. On the same string. Drop down, first finger, okay, so you pick this note that's on the fifth fret of the A string, then hammer on, okay, onto the seventh fret. Okay, so drop down a string, then you pick the fifth fret on the fourth string with your first finger, then hammer on with your third finger, drop down a string again, pick that first finger on the fifth fret, okay, on the third string, hammer on again with your third finger, on the seventh fret, drop down a string, this is where you use your pinky, first finger on the fifth fret, hammer on with your pinky, okay, on the eighth fret there, first finger on the fifth fret of the first string, and hammer on the eighth fret there, okay? So it's a great way to practice not only remembering the scale, but to practice that technique as well. And the faster you can play it, hey, it's gonna be a lot of fun and it's gonna put a lot more energy into your solo, so great job. So another example that you can do is you can do the same hammer-on technique, okay, but on the C major 2-octave pattern, okay, so let's do that. So second finger on the eighth fret of the sixth string, play that, hammer on with your pinky on the 10th fret, same string. Great, drop down a string, first finger, okay, on the seventh fret, play that, and then hammer on the eighth fret. Okay, but now you've got that eighth fret, pick the eighth fret this time, okay, on the A string, and hammer on your pinky on the 10th. So I'll start again. Okay, drop down a string, first finger on the 7th fret there, pick that note and hammer on with your 3rd finger on the 9th fret. Okay, now pick the 9th fret and hammer on with the 10th fret with your pinky. Okay, drop down a string, do that same movement again. First finger on the 7th fret of the G string. Hammer on with your 3rd finger on the 9th fret. Now pick the 9th fret and hammer on the 10th. Drop down a string, 2nd finger on the 8th fret of that 2nd string, okay, the B string. Pick that note, hammer on with your pinky on the 10th. Drop down a string, use your 1st finger on the 7th fret and hammer on with your 2nd finger on the 8th fret. Okay, great. Well done, guys. That's a great way of practicing that movable scale shape and actually learning the technique, the hammer-on as well. Now let's have a look at the flip side, the pull-off, okay? So you could think of a pull-off as almost exactly the same as the hammer-on except in reverse. So what that means is just like before when we were picking an open string and then hammering on with our 1st finger. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite. So now we're going to pick the string with our 1st finger holding down the 3rd fret and we're going to pull off, okay? So we're going to pull off the string. So you hear that open string sound, okay? Now let's go through another example where we're going to hold down our 1st finger on the 3rd fret, okay? But we're also going to have our 3rd finger on the 5th fret. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick the 5th fret first, okay? And we're going to pull off so you can hear that 1st fret. So let's pick that string. And you can hear it. I've only picked once. And you can hear that pull off there, okay? So again, use your different scales that you know to practice this technique. So you're building your musicality, you're not just training technique for the sake of technique. So let's have a look again at the A minor scale shape and the C major scale shape. So this time, let's do the scale backwards doing pull-offs, okay? So we'll start with our pinky, already resting down, holding the string down on the 8th fret. So we're going to pick that note on our pinky on the 8th fret, and so we're going to pull off so you can hear that 5th fret ringing out, which is held down by your 1st finger. Great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to repeat the same thing on the next string. On the 8th fret with our pinky, we're going to pick that and then pull off to hear the 5th fret. We're going to do on the next string, we're going to have our 3rd finger resting, ready to go. It's already holding down the 7th fret, okay, on that 3rd string. And then we're going to pull off, so pick and then pull off. Next, we're going to do the same movement, 3rd finger on the 7th fret, okay? We're going to do the same movement again. Next, we're going to do that same movement again, and we're going to use our 3rd finger that's holding down that 7th fret, and we're going to pull off so you can clearly hear that 5th fret ringing out. Okay, well done. Now lastly, we're going to use our pinky again. So the pinky's already holding down that 8th fret on the 6th string. We're going to pick and then pull off so that we can hear the 1st finger on the 5th fret ringing out nice and clear. Okay, so now that you know the idea between hammer-ons and pull-offs, a great technique idea is to do hammer-ons all the way down and pull-offs all the way up of all your different scales. That's it, guys. Well done for making it to the end. So that's a great way that I would use personally to practice pulling off, okay? That's exactly what I would do to practice that technique. And what I would do now that you know hammer-ons and pull-offs is combine the two together into one exercise. So do hammer-ons on the way down and pull-offs on the way back up. Okay, same thing with the other scale. Exactly what I do. Just practice those scales or any other scales that you know in any position and just practice that term, the hammer-ons and the pull-offs. And the last thing that I will say with hammer-ons and pull-offs, guys, okay, is just to think about the string below whenever you're on another string when you're doing hammer-ons and pull-offs, okay? So you don't want that first string to be ringing out like that. So whichever finger that you're holding down for the hammer-ons or for the pull-offs, just lean it down ever so slightly to dampen that string. So here it is normal. Both strings ringing out. But if I dampen it a little bit, here's the first string. Listen to that. Making much less of a sound. So when I do a hammer-on or a pull-off, it's not going to get in the way and you're going to have nice, clean and clear legato, which is what you want. But otherwise, well done for making it to the end, guys. Great job. If you like the effort that I do, like this video, and if you want to see more, subscribe to see more, but we'll see you again. Great job, guys.